Hi guys, this is Tech on the Brain here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be showing you some methods of running Windows, or at least Windows applications, on an Apple Silicon Mac, which is a fancy way of saying M1 Mac. So any of the M1s will work for this: M1, M1 Pro, M1 Max, and M1 Ultra should work, but it's very new, so we need to check it. I'm not checking it, I ain't got the money to check it, don't look at me. Anyway, let's get into the video. Right, so this next section is a section that I'm going to really enjoy. I don't know why I just clapped my hands as I said that, it's meant to put emphasis on it. Anyway, I'm going to really enjoy this section because we are talking about my personal favourite bit of software for the M1 Mac, full stop, pretty much. But it's definitely my favourite sort of virtualisation software. I believe this is actually classed as an emulation software. If that makes you think slow, no, this is not slow, this is faster than all the rest. Now, we're talking about Crossover here, and Crossover doesn't run Windows, it runs Windows applications through a translation layer called Wine. Now, I'm going to come up with a little example here rather than just saying, well, yeah, actually, I'll just say it. It translates Windows API calls into macOS API calls. So I'm going to come up with an example of that. Right, I speak English, and my French is terrible. I speak English. French person doesn't speak English. I know lots of French people probably do speak English, but just stick with the example. French person is talking to me in French. I don't know what they're saying. You need a translator in the middle to translate French to English. So, Crossover is that translation layer. Replace French person with Windows and replace me with macOS. Windows is sending in instructions. Crossover's there, converting Windows instructions into macOS instructions. Yes, I think that's extremely clever and is why I love Crossover. So, Crossover gives you more performance than Parallels because as far as the Mac's concerned, you're not running another OS inside of it. You're just running native programs, pretty much. I mean, but it knows they're not native. Activity Monitor has Intel written all over it, but as far as the Mac's concerned, it can use all of its RAM. So, better performance, in my opinion, better price to cost. Downsides are harder to set up, and also I feel like bugs aren't fixed as quick, but that's nothing against code weavers who make Crossover. I think it's just because Wine is more complex than what Parallels are doing. Also, Crossover is open source, so bugs are going to be squashed pretty quickly because the community for Crossover is pretty good, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's Crossover. If you take one thing from this video, Crossover, good. Okay, so now we're on to the last software I'm going to talk about today, and it's another software I use called UTM. Don't ask me what that stands for. This is sort of like a downgraded Parallels. It's you can install more OSs into it. So let me start again. Right, so UTM, you can virtualize or you can emulate. Virtualization, you need a native ARM OS. ARM is just the chip architecture of the M1. Emulation, you can have any architecture. It can emulate Mac OS 9, which I think is cool for some reason. And it can emulate Windows XP. It can do stuff like that. But it really, the setup sort of gets harder from there. So first of all, you need to be a bit more techie with your language when you set it up, because it will openly ask you, whereas Parallels asks you, do you want to use this for work or gaming? UTM will ask you RAM, it will ask you architecture, and it will use that language. So first off, you need to be a bit more techie in that department. Drivers are 100% not supplied for you. So for Windows 11, virtualizing it, UTM uses something called Spice Guest Tools, which, basically put into the virtual machine as a CD drive. Then you go into Windows, then you go to the CD section on Windows, find the file, and install the file into Windows. That's how you get your drivers. But here's the thing as well. These drivers, not the most stable things in the world. If you just install an OS, you're going to have issues like Wi-Fi won't connect because it doesn't recognise the hardware. Aspect ratio problems because it doesn't recognise the hardware. Mouse problems, kind of, because it doesn't recognise the hardware. Yeah, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. Basically, without our drivers, it ain't recognising the hardware. Now, once you've installed these drivers, yes, all great for a bit, you're going to have issues though. I've had Windows throw me a Windows can't start correctly error, and I've had sound just go completely off, which, you know, is kind of an issue when you rely on narrator. Yeah. So, yeah, there's that. But despite all this, I actually really like UTM because it is free. Yeah, cheapness wins the day, I know. So, basically, you can download UTM from the internet completely free. You can download UTM from the App Store for £10, and that gives you automatic updates. I recommend doing it like that, automatic updates, and it supports the developer. I think are some of the main things there. UTM is open source and not GPU accelerated. So, meaning that you can't run games, basically. You can run games, but say goodbye to your frame rate. So, yeah, it can run some very basic games, but we're talking like the game tests you see on those videos about Windows 95 computers. So, yeah, there's that. Now, I'm just going to summarise everything here. Parallels, yes, okay. Technically, you could say it's the best one out of all of these, but it has major issues that I've outlined. Crossover, I think, is the best, but I've given you pretty much all the facts to decide whether you think it's the best. But one thing I should also mention is Crossover has a compatibility database on their website where you can check if your thing will work, but Crossover is mainly for gaming. UTM, yes, again, you could say it's the worst out of all of them, but I think it's better than Parallels. I genuinely like it more just because of its price to performance. UTM is not trying to be something it's not, is what I'm saying here. So, I've given you the facts. Now go out there and virtualise, which is something I never thought I would say. Yeah. So, as always, this was Tech on the Brain, out.